welcome to What's Your Story? My guest tonight is Susie Woerz. Susie is the executive director of the Plainville Community Food Pantry, which is located at 54 South Canal Street in Plainville, Connecticut. Welcome to the show, Susie.
Thank you for having me again.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. I've had you here before, and I'm excited to talk about what's going on at the pantry and what's happening with you. So why don't we start with this? Would you please explain exactly what services are offered to the public by your organization?
We offer to the Plainville residents food, clothing, energy assistance, and just intervention referral. We can intervene their issues and refer them to where they need to go to get help.
So food, clothing, and what else?
Energy assistance.
Energy assistance.
You know, oil,
Really?
electricity. We can help with their bills. You know, we can help them get coded hardship in the wintertime. So
What does it mean to be coded hardship?
that means that if you're coded hardship, that means that you still have to pay your bill, but they won't shut you off.
And how do you get that code? Who offers that?
Eversource offers.
Oh, Eversource.
Yes.
Has a way for you to retain your services, pay less, and at some point catch up. Is that what this?
Yes, it would be your gas bill or your light bill. Deliverable fuels, you don't get coded hardship.
Oh, deliverable fuel? No. Oh.
No.
So if you have a oil burning furnace, nothing there for you.
Well, there's HRA is also a bigger organization that actually helps people with their light bills and their gas bills and things like that.
So you know how to direct people to those. Oh,
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Now, Susie, just explain it for our viewing audience, because I don't know if many people really understand. When I think of a food pantry, I don't think of clothing and that sort of stuff. I think of the Goodwill for
Yes.
clothing and that stuff. How did that happen for you?
Well, we realized that our folks needed clothing as well, so it's a one-stop shopping kind of situation where it looks like a convenience store and a food shopping store like a Nazo's. It's really a good organization, and you know, we've been around a long time.
Well, that leads me to my next question. Would you explain to our viewing audience your long involvement with this organization? How did you get involved, and how long have you been there, and what's going on today?
I'm on my 33rd year.
Wow.
When I started back in '88, it was a smaller organization, and we knew we were in the cellar of Linden Street School, and then we moved over to Our Lady Mercy. We had 800 square feet there, and then we were able to receive a grant from the state of Connecticut to build the facility, the state-of-the-art facility that we're in right now. So we got a grant, we were able to design and build it exactly the way we wanted it, and it's working perfect.
So don't dismiss 33 years with that little bit of information. What have you seen in those 33 years being there, being involved? What role did you start out as? You're the executive director now, but it didn't start out 33 years ago like that.
No, I started as eligibility coordinator, and then they made me the executive director because I had more things that I had to do. And building the building meant that now I have to be the case manager, executive director, and also the fundraiser. And I had to help develop, which one of my board members helped me redesign, but a personnel policy. I had to learn all of that.
You had to learn the HR part of it.
I had to learn everything as an executive director, because when I took the job, or they offered me the job, I had no idea how to run a food pantry. So everything was learning and by trial and error, and but we made it this far, and it's actually a model of Connecticut, to be honest. We were named that years ago when Gloria McAdam, who ran Food Share.
Food Share, yes.
Because we were one of the first to start client choice, meaning the client chooses what they want and not bag it and hand it to them. So they have a choice of what they want or need. It's really great.
So in that 33 years of doing that, surely there were times when you were tested and you looked at it and you went, ah.
No, the Plainville Food Pantry is dear to my heart.
Okay, all right.
I grew up as a child with a mom that raised 4 of us, and I know we had that conversation.
Absolutely, talk about it.
And you know, she was a great mom. She worked 3 jobs, and she tried to keep us all together, which she did an amazing job.
Yes.
But we were on food stamps. I did get free and reduced lunch. So I understood a lot of the issues of the people coming in, and I had the passion to treat them with dignity and understood where they were coming from. So that's why I think I'm still there for 33 years, because I helped build it. And the community, again, could not do what we do without the Plainville community and surrounding towns. People have been very generous, very generous.
You know, as I look at you and I hear 33 years there, and I know the tremendous effort that is put into running an organization, to say nothing of a food pantry. You know, as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking to myself, wow. Now, you talked about your problems growing up as a child, having food stamps and that sort of thing. There must be, or there was at that point, I'm imagining, a stigma attached to kids who needed help or families that did. Do you find you find your clients like embarrassed to come to get food? Has the stigma died down, or what's happened with that?
I think everyone that comes through our door doesn't want to be there.
They don't want to be there.
They don't want to be there, but they don't have a choice. And we're talking about the people that are on disability or Social Security, you know, retirement. You know, there's a lot of folks out there that didn't have a pension, or they're living just on Social Security. And we all know everything's gone up, and things are not going up as far as coming in with income.
Yes,
and they
yes.
can't go to work. So, you know, those are the folks we're seeing. You know, there's a lot of people that lost their job, and now you see hiring everywhere. So, you know, I don't think that, I think the schools and the government has done a pretty good job with helping the folks that were in need, especially with the pandemic. You know, there's a lot of good that really came, if you want to say good, but the pandemic was hard on everybody, and everybody had to change the way they did things.
Yeah, yeah.
And with us, I mean, we did not skip a beat. And I'm very proud of my staff, my volunteers, the community. You know, we did not shut down. We fed our people. We did every holiday. We did back to school. We did not skip a beat. And that just shows how strong of an organization we really are.
Yeah, it really does.
Because there are a lot of people that really couldn't function in the pandemic. A lot of people worked from home. We didn't have that choice. However, we did change the way we did things, and the reason was because of the pandemic, we didn't allow anybody into the building. So we were open the whole time, and we had a menu, and the people would call us. We would read the menu. They had a copy of the menu because I sent it to them, and they would read off what they wanted, and we packed and put it outside when they pulled in the driveway. Same thing with the holiday baskets. They came, we put it in their trunk, and they took off. Back to school the same way. So I'm, like I said, very proud of my staff, and my board of directors were behind us, and the volunteers and the community.
Susie, this may be a tough question, but over the past 33 years, how many families do you figure you helped? Ballpark.
Families, okay, let's say, if you want to take, right now I have 130 households on there, so if you take that, I mean, you can times 33 years.
Okay.
You know, that's how I would try to figure it out.
Yes, yes.
You know, but again, I see a trend that before it used to be like a generation and a generation and a generation, and that cycle has broken. as far as in Plainville.
Really?
The back to school program, which I love, and I did that because I took my nephew who was starting kindergarten. I bought him all the little lunchbox and things.
Yeah, yes.
And it was like $100, and I was like thinking, our folks can't afford to buy those essential things. And as a child growing up, I didn't have a lot of that. So a child that doesn't have it is going to be looking at the children that have it, and now they're going to be already stepped behind because they're not listening and paying attention to the teacher because they're thinking about what they don't have. So I started the back to school in, I think, 95.
Now, what ages do you do back to school?
I go all the way from nursery school up to college.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
And what is back to school? What does that do for me if I'm in that program? What does it really do?
It gives you a backpack, socks, underwear, a gift certificate of $100 to buy a first day of school outfit, and it will also give you to buy sneakers if you need them, or whatever else you didn't get from the food pantry. All the supplies, and we actually get a supply list from each of the schools, so we pack them up for that school. So every child has what they are, even the calculator, if they need them.
And how long have you been doing this?
1995.
And that's an innovative program, I would imagine.
Yeah, I love the program. It's a good program, and it helps a lot of the kids. And I noticed sometimes in the paper, the superintendent has a list of kids that are exceeding the monthly or whatever. And I see some of my kids on that list, and it makes me proud of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, how do you what is my eligibility? How do I have to be eligible to access the food pantry?
Well, the state has guidelines. Federal and state have guidelines. We don't really have a guideline. What we do is it's by income and expense. And then we divide it out on how much money do you have left after you paid your overhead, your lights, your gas.
Yep.
How much money do you have left over after you pay for your basic needs? And that kind of determines if they're eligible or not, because you could have somebody that just is in trouble with maybe credit cards, or we can help them get into maybe some kind of a program for them, but it can't be a misuse of their money. If it's inappropriate behavior causing debt, that's not part of our program. We're there to help those in need. And we always wanted to help them become self-sufficient, but I see we'll never be out of business because we're always going to have that person that doesn't have enough money at the end of the month. So,
when you determine a person's eligibility, how long are they eligible? Do you have to reapply?
Every year we certify them. Now with the pandemic, we really didn't take a lot of papers because normally the application, we called it a soft application.
Yes,
so
yes.
the folks that were on the program already, we just mailed that soft application and they brought it back to us. We know if they're getting food stamps, or they're getting WIC, or they're getting energy assistance, or state food stamps, or whatever, we know that they've been screened already. So we're not going to put more pressure onto somebody that's already stressed, because they don't want to be where they are, but we will help them.
It's a fair question. In our world today, drugs are a major problem across the board in every aspect of life. Do you find that it's prevalent in some of the clients that you have? That's the reason that some of them are in the situation that they are?
No, I can't speak on that side of it. I don't know what they're doing in their personal life.
Yeah.
So, but most of the folks are on disability for whatever reason, and then we have them also, the Social Security, the elderly. We're seeing more of the elderly than in the past. Before, the elderly years ago, worked in General Motors and all these big companies
Yes,
that are no
yes.
longer, and they got pensions and
Yep.
retirement and
Yep,
free
yep.
benefits. I mean, so the generation now that's retiring doesn't have all that. So those are the folks we're seeing.
Those are the people you're seeing, the people without that retirement safety net, if you
Yeah, yeah. So
Tell our viewing audience how you get the clothes that you dispense, the food that you dispense. Where does that come from?
that comes from our community and surrounding communities. However, because of the pandemic, we stopped taking in clothing at the moment. I may start up again. We have plenty of clothes right now, but I may start back up. The problem was we didn't have a lot of volunteers that would sort it, so it started to stockpile. So I just had to stop taking it in.
So the clothes were stockpiling.
Yeah, and I didn't have anybody sorting it and hanging it and boxing it. So now, as my volunteers are coming back, I may start back up. But right now, I'm not going to be collecting clothing.
What about food?
Food, I am collecting food. We actually have a carriage outside. Anybody can drop it off. We just ask them to call us when they're here, because especially with the heat, we don't want to leave it outside.
Yeah, yes.
So
Do you have, of course I was there, I know the answer to this, but the audience doesn't. Do you have a refrigeration in
I
order
do.
to tell us about that? What can you?
I have two of the industrial restaurant refrigerators.
Wow, yes.
Oh, no, I have one refrigerator and two freezers.
Okay,
And then
all
I
right.
have a chest freezer. And they're full with bread, and we have turkeys and ham, and we get hamburger, and we have chicken. So we're doing well. I mean, the community really stepped up, and I hope they continue, because of them, we're doing what we're doing.
Do you get any state aid, any state help?
We have, it's a nutrition program. We do get some state money, but we also raise a lot of money through grants and foundations. And we do a spring appeal and a fall appeal. And I have to tell you, the community really stepped up, and we appreciate what they did.
By community, who are you referring to?
The Plainville, when I do mailing in Plainville, they all responded, and it was just amazing to me that the generosity through the pandemic was incredible.
You answered this already, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you foresee a day when organizations like yours will no longer be necessary?
Oh, they'll always be necessary.
Why?
Well, you have people that are still going to be disabled and on Social Security. We have free and reduced lunch, so we have a lot of those in our community, which is great. They're doing breakfast and lunch at the school, and I think that's a wonderful program. So I don't feel we'll be put out of business, because that was always my goal, but I don't see it happening. You're always going to have that family or individual that's in need.
You once told me something very interesting. I know you've probably forgotten all about it, but I wrote it down because I thought it was so very interesting. Maybe it's not the exact quote, but it's pretty close. You once told me that hunger is present in every zip code.
It is.
What did you mean by that?
There's hunger everywhere in the United States, everywhere, even in other countries. Hunger never goes on vacation, and there are a lot of people that are hungry. You know, and there was a big article, I forget what paper it was that I was reading, but hunger is a big deal. And they're trying to get, I think, more food stamps for people, and you know, other things to help with this hunger, because there is hunger everywhere. And people think, you know, they have a food pantry in Farmington, they have one in Avon, they have one in West Hartford, we have one in Plainville, there's one in Bristol, they're in New Britain, they're everywhere. Doesn't matter. If you lost your job and you have your bills and you're collecting, and we all know we're not making what we did make. So, and then you have your COBRA. If you lose your job, now you still need your medical. So it's a vicious circle that happens. So
It seems that people can't escape the circumstances that you find yourself in.
no, and that's why, you have people that might say, like, someone drives in with like my little car.
Your little car,
My little
yes,
car.
yeah.
So if I had to go to a food pantry, someone's going to say, well, why do you have
that car?
But if you have the car, how you have to go to work, so you need a car. So if they're at a food pantry, I think they're there because they need to be there. They're not there because they want to be there.
You've said that a couple of times tonight, that people are there because they need to be there.
Yeah.
They don't really want to be there.
They don't, and I have people that will come in and shop, and they'll just take a little bit, and we'll say, you can take a little more. No, well, I'm good. I'll leave it for somebody else. They're very respectful, and they appreciate the help that they're getting, and they'll make comments about, I really wish I didn't have to be here, or I can't feed my children. I mean, I had a woman come in one day. She was in our lobby, and she had a little toddler that looked like just started to walk.
Yes.
She's in my area, and I said, can I help you? And she says, I have no food to feed my baby. Being there for 33 years, that brought me to tears, because here's a woman that has a baby and doesn't have food to feed that baby. That had to be the worst feeling ever, and to have to ask for help. So you never know. It could be me on food stamps. It could be me at the food pantry.
But for the grace of God.
Right. You don't know what's in store for you. If you lose your job or you get ill and you can't work, you don't know.
Susie, what kind of items do you need now? If you were talking to the audience and needed stuff, tell us what you need, and tell them where to send it and so forth.
I think right now, condiments like mayonnaise, ketchup, mustard, relish, things like that, because it's summertime. People are cooking out. Snacks for the kids. Jelly. We don't have a lot of jellies.
And where would they send it?
54 South Canal Street in Plainville. It's and when they come in the building, they can call us when they get in at the building, and we'll come out and get it from
What's
them.
the number they would call?
860-747-1919.
So tell them one more time what you need, the type of items.
Children's snacks, canned fruits, and I think the condiments is a big deal. And we can always use some donations of money to purchase the milk and eggs and juice and things that we don't get in, butter. So,
And financial donations are tax deductible?
they are, yeah.
Okay, you're 501? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
Susie, as always, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for always having me.
Absolutely.
I always enjoy talking to you.
Thank you for what you do.
I
and thank you
appreciate
for the
that.
33 years, and keep on trucking.
Oh, I'm going to keep going.
All right. That's all the time we have for this edition of What's Your Story? Everybody has a story. What's yours? Until next time, I'm James Ransom Reed, Jr.